Hey guys, welcome to the JW and Torture channel. So we already covered almost 20 points what the Jehovah's Witnesses would deny of the history. So we've got another 2 for this episode. Don't miss it because it's really good information. So let's have a look at these 2 new points. So number 19, the 1980s doctrines overturned. Let's have a look what doctrines the governing body or the president back then managed or tried to overturn back in the day, just to make themselves look better or progressive. Let's have a look anyway. So number 19, as I said, 1980s doctrines overturned. So because of the failure of the 1975 fiasco and the hemorrhaging of Jehovah's Witnesses members exiting the Jehovah's Witnesses organization or the Watchtower organization, many of these that came out of from this organization. So one of the examples that we got here, one of the members that left the organization back in these days was Carl Ulf Johnson from Sweden, and he published several books. One of these books was called The Gentile Times Reconsidered, that proved 100% that the date of 1914 and 607 was completely 100% wrong. But obviously the governing body dismissed all this information and got rid of these people as well. And another member that came out of this organization that published more books about the Watchtower exposing the wrong doctrines was James Penton. He also published this book called The Apocalypse Delayed, also talking about the 1914 wrong dates and the 607 as well. So the president and the governing body at the time could not overturn all these false doctrines like the 1914, the 607 by any means, just because they all point to 1919. And obviously 1919 is an epic or unavoidable date for the Jehovah's Witnesses organization, the Watchtower, because this is the epic date where God himself and Jesus picked this Watchtower organization out of the thousands of other religions and chose them as the legit, the only truth religion in the whole world. I mean, there's no freaking proof of this. We just have to take it as it comes, as truth. So don't ask any proof of this because you ain't gonna get it. But other doctrines though, the governing body is not stupid, or the president is not stupid. They have to get rid of some of the doctrines that they were being exposed for. So the other doctrines that were easily overturned or slightly changed to make the organization to be seen as progressive, of course. And this is where we are going to see that the Jehovah's Witnesses will deny this history, that these doctrines were once a part of the horrible organization, of the horrible doctrines or the faith, whatever you want to choose. So one of the many doctrines that the governing body and the president overturned was the ban on organ donations. So was acceptable all the way until 1975. And let's have a look at this proof that we've got here, because we don't work as, oh yes, it was acceptable and we won't show any proof. Of course, we need to show proof of this. So we're gonna go to the Watchtower 1975, September the 1st, page 519, and we've got the Watchtower here and page 519. Let's have a look at the points highlighted here. So the first paragraph, so it says here, it has long been known that heart transplant patients have a higher average amount of post-operative psychiatric problems, but it seems that the same is true with regards to some of other vital organs transplants, such as the kidney transplants. And it goes on to the next paragraph to say, a peculiar factor sometimes noted is a so-called personality transplant. That is, the recipient in some cases has seemed to adopt certain personality factors of the person from whom the organ came. One young promiscuous woman who received a kidney from her older, conservative, well-behaved sister at first seemed very upset. Then she began imitating her sister in much of her conduct. Another patient claimed to receive a changed outlook on life after his kidney transplant. Following the transplant, a wild-tempered man became aggressive like the donor. The problem may be largely or wholly mental, but is of interest at least that the Bible links the kidneys closely with human emotions. So here are very negative points about organ transplants, but that was not, of course, the governing body and the president back then had to look progressive, and they had to change these wrong doctrines as they were being exposed. So in the Watchtower in 1980, March 15, page 31, they overturned this doctrine. And just think of how many people would have died for not having a organ transplant. How many people would have died just to follow the Watchtower doctrines of their thinking on how to view organ transplants? Think of that. How many people died? But by 1980, that was all in the past. Now it was acceptable for the Jehovah Witnesses to save their lives with organ transplants. So let's have a look. Let's go to page 31. Let's have a look how they clear all these wrong doctrines. While the Bible specifically forbids consuming blood, there is no biblical command point. So hold on. Let's go back again. While the Bible specifically forbids consuming blood, but is not a punishable offense to consume blood. They left that bit out of this article because there's plenty of examples in the Bible where followers of God ate blood and nothing happened. And also, there is no way in the Bible where it says that consuming blood means you will die. This is an imagination from the Jehovah Witnesses leaders that it's a sin to consume blood. It's a matter of life or death for them. But nowhere in the Bible is such a position. Anyway, let's keep going. While the Bible specifically forbids consuming blood, there is no biblical command pointedly forbidding the taking in of other human tissue. So hold on. How come the way it was unacceptable, it was banned, it was forbidden to take organ transplants, but now it's just saying there is no biblical command? So how can they flip the coin just like that and don't worry about all the thousands or hundreds or thousands or millions of people dying for not taking organ transplants? I mean, what is going on with these people? They just don't care. For this reason, each individual faced with making a decision on this matter should carefully and prayerfully weigh matters and then decide conscientiously what he or she could or could not do before God. It is a matter for personal decision. So now it's a personal decision. It's got nothing to do with the organization, and it's got nothing to do with all these members coming out of the organization and pointing out all these wrong doctrines. No, it's got nothing to do with that. It's a matter of personal decision because the Bible had nothing to say about organ transplants, but we did ban it on the name of God. Interesting, eh? All right, let's keep going to another doctrine that they overturned. So the governing body, they lightened the ban on oral and anal sex between married couples. So it was unacceptable all the way until 1976. I mean, just think of how much power or how much the leadership of the Jehovah Witnesses had to say up to this point, and to say or to recommend a married couple on the privacy, on their own personal lives, if they can have oral or anal sex. I mean, come on. This is how deep and rooted the leadership are in Jehovah Witnesses' lives. this is how far they go into the Jehovah's Witnesses' lives. This is how deep they go in. So let's have a look that it was unacceptable until 1976. Let's have a look at the Watchtower 1976, February 15, page 122. It's sponsored by the Watchtower organization. Let's have a look at this Watchtower. So it says here, unnatural practices in connection with sex in marriage, such as oral and anal copulation, have caused some of God's people to become impure in his eyes, in God's eyes. They are impure. Stop doing it. But the Watchtower kept above this moral and filth by alerting married couples to God's thinking on the matter, also fornication. So the leadership of the Jehovah's Witnesses are saying to all the Jehovah's Witnesses around the world, stop doing oral and anal sex because God sees this as disgusting. Don't do it. It's a morality, filth, disgusting act of a human person. So whatever you're doing in under the sheets, stop it. But God changed his mind. Oh, maybe it was the governing body, the president, that changed his mind, speaking on behalf of God. I don't know. You make your own decision with that. But then it changed to, or it was overturned to in 1978 to be acceptable. Let's have a look at the Watchtower 1978, February the 15th, page 30, sponsored by the Watchtower again. Let's have a look at this Watchtower 1978, February the 15th, page 30. Let's have a look at these articles, shall we? So, questions for readers. Does the Bible set forth any specific definitions as to what is moral or immoral as regards the sexual relationship between husband and wife? Is it the responsibility of the congregation elders to endeavor to exercise control among congregation members in these intimate marital matters? So before, they were saying that it was a moral thing for the organizations, for the leaders, for the elders to warn the couples to stop doing this. But now they are questioning this. Is it moral for the organization or the congregation to be on top of these matters? Let's have a look what the careful answer was. Let's have a look. A careful further weighing of this matter, however, convinces us that in view of the absence of clear scriptural instruction, oh, hold on, again they come up with the same answer because of the absence of scriptural backing. So they're making rules and doctrines out of thin air, these people, again. So it says here again, in view of the absence of clear scriptural instruction, these are matters for which the married couple themselves must bear the responsibility before God, and that these marital intimacies do not come within the province of the congregational elders to attempt to control, nor to take this fellowshipping. So before was a disfellowshipping thing, and it was controlled by the elders, by the leadership, by anyone that has any kind of power within the organization. But now it's like, nah, you know what? It's okay. Jehovah God doesn't care anymore. He doesn't see it as filthy anymore. It's up to you what you guys do. It's on your own conscience. So keep going now. So back at it again. So yeah, you can see the answers for yourself that the Watchtower doesn't have a clue, is making doctrines out of thin air with no biblical backing at all. Well, they claimed that it was a biblical backing, but then now it's coming out with washing their hands, saying, no, there's no biblical matters here. There's no biblical scriptural backing here. And then, but hold on. So it was unacceptable. And then what happened in 1983, guys? Would you believe me if I say that they overturned and it became unacceptable again by 1983. So thanks to the Watchtower of 1983, March 15, page 31, this became unacceptable again. Let's have a look at this beauty, shall we? So we got 3 parts here to read. Give me a second. So the first part says, perverted acts such as oral and anal sex within the marriage. That's the first bit of it. Let's have a look at the second bit, what it says. So it becomes known that a member of the congregation is practicing and openly advocating perverted sex relationships within the marriage bond. That one certainly would not be irreprehensible, and so would not be acceptable for special privileges such as serving as an elder or ministerial servant. Oh, okay. So if you keep doing it, you won't be able to be an elder or a ministerial servant. Interesting, eh? Or have any privileges, I will guess. Let's have a look at the other paragraph. Oh, it says here, or pioneer as well. Wow. Such practices and advocacy could even lead to expulsion from the congregation. Oh, so if you keep doing these things, you can be disfellowship and lose all your family and all your friends and everything that you know of in your whole life, because you're doing something that is just between a wife and a husband under the sheets, but it can become a well-known thing and you may lose everything that you know of disfellowshipping and losing your family and everything that you have in your life just because of these clowns making doctrines out of nowhere. Interesting, eh? So some other minor doctrines were overturned, but don't confuse these changes for a more liberal governing body or flexing their muscle. This was a divided governing body trying to make sense and not sure of what to do about the collapse of the membership in front of the faces. So they had to do something about it, and make themselves look like, okay, yes, we got some things wrong. We're gonna appease some most of the members by changing things that are no scriptural basis, but the things that are really important for our doctrines and that makes us important, we'll keep those, like the 1914 6 or 7, obviously. Number 20, governing body witch hunt. This is really interesting, guys. So because of all these people exiting the Watchtower and coming out and pointing out all these wrong doctrines by the organization, the governing body started a witch hunt to find out these people. To make matter worse, with this exiting of members and this pointing out all these wrong doctrines, at least 6 members of the governing body itself, along with several other senior members at Bethel, were caught up in a scheme in one way or another. What do I mean by schemes? Well, what I just said before, spreading rumors, or not spreading rumors, but spreading information about the wrong doctrines, about the governing body or the president, it doesn't have the backing of God, or that they're just coming out with these doctrines with no backing at all, and all these doubts within the organization. So they wanted to pluck out these people from the organization. So this is the witch hunt of the president and the governing body. So let's have a look at this history that the Jehovah's Witnesses will deny that ever happened within the organization. So let's have a look at the witch hunt of the governing body, and let's have a look who did they get rid of. So let's start with Edward C. Chitty was forced out of the governing body in 1979. And you may think, who is this person? Well, he was one of the governing body member in 1979. The reason for his removal was never made public. You would try to find out a reason for this person to why he was forced out, but you will never find anything. We only have rumors that he was gay, so he was removed from the organization. Yeah, and just in case you don't know this organization, the Jehovah's Witnesses are very against gay and lesbian people. And we've got Edward C. Chitty here sitting in the left far side of this picture. And we're going to see the last post of the Watchtower regarding this governing body. And let's have a look what happened to him, because this post from the Watchtower was a year later after he was forced out. So let's have a read at the last post of the Watchtower regarding the Edward C. Chitty, that a year later, just casually out of the blue, the Watchtower came to mention him or announces his resignation from the governing body. Let's have a look at this article. So it's in the 1980 year book of the Jehovah Witnesses, page 258, and it says, in the past year, Edward C. Chile resigned, so that at present there are 17 members of this governing body. So, no reason why he resigned, no reason what happened, and this was the first person to resign from the governing body. Never ever before that a president will resign or will leave the presidency, or the governing body will leave the governing body. No one ever before that, because any governing body or president was meant to be chosen by God. It's a decision of God. So if you step out or resign from this governing body, you actually going against the decision of God himself. So that's why you will never ever see someone stepping out. And especially there is no reasons at all. It just says he resigned for no reason. So several members of the governing body back in 1957 simply did not believe in the doctrines of the organization. So 3 members in Bethel tried to overturn the 1914 doctrine. We had we had Grant Sweeter, we had Albert Schroeder, and Carl Klein. They all presented a thesis to the governing body to try to change the 1914 date doctrine, looking to replace it with 1957, because there were already several books published by ex-members that has come out of the organization, pointing out the errors, the conflicting evidence that the Watchtower has put on, and has come out showing that it's 100% wrong, this doctrine. But this is what these 3 members tried to do, convince the governing body to please look into it and change your mind, because you are deceiving your members. But what happened? Let's have a look how the Watchtower and the governing body and the president reacted. So the legal head of the Watchtower, along with the president, Fred Franks, back then, decided that the right approach was to interrogate members of the Bethel family, along with the traveling overseers, branch elders, and even certain suspected elders in the congregations, to determine who didn't believe in the Watchtower chronology, doctrine, or policy. Right or wrong wasn't important here. Loyalty was the most important thing for the organization, the only thing that mattered right here. So they started with this. They started this witch hunt with this suspect that they suspected the most. So on September the 1st, 1980, the governing body distributed a letter to all the circuit and district overseers stating that the apostates need not be promoting doctrines to be disfellowship. So anyone can be disfellowship. They don't need to be spreading any information as long as they are suspected of any wrongdoing. So let's have a look at this. The letter stated that individuals who persisted in believing other doctrine despite scriptural reproof were also apostatizing and therefore warranted appropriate judicial action. So for people that did not believe in the doctrines, that was enough to be judged as an apostate. So let's have a look at this letter that they published, or that they sent to all the district overseers. So it's a 2-page letter, but I'm going to read the main part in 2nd page. Let's have a look at this highlighted. Keep in mind that to be disfellowship, an apostate does not have to be promoter of apostate views. As mentioned in paragraph 2, page 70 on the August 1st, 1980 Watchtower, the word apostasy comes from the Greek term that means a standing away from, a falling away, defection, rebellion, abandonment. Therefore, if a baptized Christian abandons the teachings of Jehovah as presented by the faithful and discreet slave. So any teaching that the discreet slave or the governing body is presented to the members, this is set to stone. And if you don't believe it, you're an apostate, as far as we can tell by this letter. It says it's here, it keeps saying, and persist, faithful and discreet slave, and persist in believing other doctrines despite scriptural reproof, then he is apostatizing. Extended kindly efforts should be put forth to adjust his thinking. So to adjust his thinking back to the Jehovah Witnesses thinking. However, if after such extended efforts have been put forth to adjust his thinking, he continues to believe the apostate ideas and rejects what he has been provided through the slave class, then appropriate judicial action should be taken. So you just need to believe to lose everything in this organization. So it's not that you believe what the Bible says is not enough. It's whatever is presented to you by the faithful and discreet slave, the governing body. So it's not about what the Bible says, but it's what the Watchtower or what the governing body or the faithful, so many freaking names, man. it's not about the Bible, but it's about what the faithful discreet slave states, what the Bible is teaching or what God is teaching through the Bible by the faithful discreet slave. That's what is important. Do you believe what the faithful and discreet slave is telling you to believe, or you want to believe whatever else is the Bible saying? You take a choice, the hard way or our way. So, yep, it's about believing. It doesn't have to be apostatizing or be teaching other people about other beliefs. No, it's just believing. That's all it matters. As long as you believe something else, that's it. That's enough for you to be kicked out. So, this is how it panned out for Raymond Franks. So, not long after that letter on March 1881, Ray Frank's employer in Alabama submitted a letter of disassociation from the Jehovah Witnesses. Then in September 15, 1981, each of the Watchtower announced a change of policy on disassociation, directing that those who formerly withdrew from the group were to be shunned by witnesses in the same manner as those who have been disfellowshipped. So they were giving an ultimatum to all the Jehovah Witnesses. If someone disassociates, they need to be treated as a disfellowship as well. So you need to shun this person no matter who this person is. If it's a family member or a friend, you need to be shunned if he disassociates from us. He needs to be treated like a disfellowship person. So Raymond Franks, let's have a look at the Watchtower 1981, September the 15th, page 23, where it says this amazing new policy. So if one who was a Christian choose to join those who were disapproved by God, it will be fitting for the congregation to acknowledge by a brief announcement that he had disassociated himself and is no longer one of the Jehovah Witnesses. Persons who make themselves not of our sort by deliberately rejecting the faith and beliefs of Jehovah Witnesses should appropriately be viewed and treated as one those who have been disfellowshipped for wrongdoing. So this is a proof that Jehovah Witnesses do have the same treatment to disassociated and disfellowship people. So yeah, these are the new rules for the new policy for the disassociated people. So Raymond Franks, who continued to socialize with his employer, was summoned to a judicial hearing on November the 25th and disfellowship for disassociating this policy. And he was charged for apostasy, even though he was not apostatizing. He was just eating out with his ex-employer who just disassociated with the organization. So they got rid of him. Just because there's more history about this, because they needed to blame someone for the 1975 fiasco. So Raymond Franks was in the printing department and the teaching department. So they wanted to get rid of him to blame him for all for the 1975. So they got a scapegoat, and he was a scapegoat for the 1975. So they got rid of him as an apostasy member of the governing body. So the next person to follow after Ray France was Carl Olof Johnson, was his fellowship as well for apostasy, and several leaders of the Watchtower in Sweden as well was kicked out of the organization along with him. The entire bodies of elders across the US and Canada were also removed after this witch hunt. So in Ireland, two prominent people in Ireland in the organization, John May and Martin Merriman, traveled to the US to find out what was going on with all this purge that was taking place. So they were disfellowship for this action, and dozens of their fellow congregants in Dublin followed them out of the door as well once they were kicked out for coming out to the US Bethel to find out what was going on. And of course there were no it was like, what's going on, probably, and then that's not right. They were confronting maybe the governing bodies, so they showed them the door. And we've got the picture here. They made quite a few videos about what was going on with the organization, so they were also smoked out of the organization. And to finish off this number 20, the governing body witch hunt, the purge targeted anyone who could not be controlled. That was the main purpose of this witch hunt. Target anyone that was not under their control, no matter if they was wrong or right. As long as you did not believe in the faithful discreet slave, you were gone. So thank you guys for watching this video, and let's have a look what we can find for the next video. Stay tuned to see what we can find for the next denied histories of the Jehovah's Witnesses.